So I recently met a guy online who seemed kind and polite. I scheduled a date for Friday and everything is going swimmingly. He was a gentleman with a nice sense of humor. There didn't appear to be any red lights in his profile. Until yesterday. I got a message from him saying he wants to meet up with me tomorrow morning, and I accepted, figuring we'll just go to Starbucks and meet there. With a smile on my face, I went to sleep. Instead, around 8 a.m., I received a phone call. I answered it, surprised, and it was my date. "Hey, have you gotten up yet?" "I just awoke." "It doesn't matter how you look. Your mother terrified me out." "My mother?" "Yeah, she noticed me parked across the street. She waved at me and I waved back, but she was creepy." "What time did you come over here?" 5:30 a.m. My stomach sank. I checked my messages after the phone call. I was getting texts from 5 a.m. with a picture of my house and a message, "Do you live here?" I didn't give him my address. I just simply told him to directly meet me at Starbucks. "Someone recognized me, so I moved," he texted in the next message, which included a photo of my neighbor's house. Obviously, I was terrified, and I knew that my mother and neighbors were probably terrified as well. I began to panic and began contacting my friends, desperate to check to see if anyone was awake and could assist me in any way. I get one response in a group chat, but out of fear of being judged, I lie to her and say I took care of the matter. I persuaded myself to leave the house and confront this man. "Hello, princess, how are you doing?" He was in my neighbor's yard, perhaps looking for me through their windows. I attempted to fake a smile and let him hug me despite my trembling. Then he moved in for a wet, messy, tongue-in-cheek kiss. I was at a loss for what to do. I tried to tell him that waiting for me at 5 a.m. wasn't cool, but he justified it by saying he wanted to beat traffic and not drive sleepy because he works nights. I tried to put myself in his shoes and shake it off. I got into his car and we tried to have a date that was as close to a regular date as possible. That didn't always include groping, smelling my face several times, or talking about marriage straight away so I could have his baby. I persuaded him to drop me off somewhere other than my house and let me walk back. That is, until I realized he was stalking me in his car. And when I questioned about it, he offered to walk me to my house. I told him no, even though I was terrified, and managed to escape. I was in tears and incredibly nervous by the time I got home. I texted him that I didn't think we're compatible and he should avoid me and my family at all costs. In reaction, he called me a scumbag. As a result, I believed I would take a break from online dating.
So I am married to a woman who's white, and she had a son before we got together. So one day I needed to go to the grocery store, so I took the son and let my wife stay at home and relax. While we were at the store, my son was running up and down the aisles and went up to a lady and said, "Hi, I'm Ryan and I'm 4 years old." And the lady said back to him, "Oh, hi there, Ryan. You shouldn't be running around. Now let's go find your parents." So I grabbed Ryan and told the lady, "Sorry, we'll get out of your way." "Oh, I don't think so. You're not going anywhere with that child." "You mean my son? That's not your child. He's white and you're Mexican. You probably didn't even know his name until he said it to me." "Sure, whatever, lady. Can you just move? My wife's at home and waiting for us to get back." "Oh, stop your lies. You're not taking him anywhere, you pervert." The whole time my son is clinging to my leg because obviously he's scared. As you can see, he's standing right next to me because he trusts me and you're scaring him. So how about you bail off? "No, he's scared because he doesn't know you. He just doesn't know how to express it yet." "Come on now, sweetie. I'm here to rescue you." And then she grabbed my son and began to run. When a worker tried to stop her, she said, "Why are you stopping me? This Mexican here is trying to kidnap my grandson." "That's my son, you psycho. Now let him go." Obviously, the manager doesn't know who to believe. I mean, I don't blame him. He was caught in a weird situation. But we called the cops, and the Karen was charged with attempt at kidnapping. That's what you get.
Am I the asshole for telling my neighbor that her husband isn't the cat she thinks he is? I, 28 female, recently attended a neighborhood barbecue. This mommy influencer started asking me about my love life in front of the other neighbors. Now, this woman is 35 and a decade younger than her husband. When I told her I wasn't interested in getting married or into a committed relationship, she made comments saying that she was worried I would end up bitter and an old cat lady. She literally insinuated that being easy is what's keeping me from finding a life partner. Then she said if I found a therapist and sorted out my issues, I would also end up with a catch like her husband. I got angry and pretty much humiliated her and her husband in front of the other neighbors. I said her husband isn't much of a catch since he pretty much cheated on his first wife and abandoned his kids from his first marriage. And that their picture-perfect Instagram family isn't going to fool me into idealizing them. I said ending up with a guy like her husband was my worst nightmare and that her choice in men is unfortunate. She left crying and wants me to apologize.
Am I the asshole for making my daughter cover up at home?
Yeah.
Background info. I, 58 female, have a daughter, 22 female. I am very anti-tattoo, and my daughter is very aware of this.
My expectations were so
being
low.
like naked and
They've
it's just like,
gotten
can you
worse.
cover your tattoo, please?
When she left to go to college, I told her that as long as I was paying for her school, she was not allowed to get a tattoo. Since I was paying for her undergrad, she followed my rules. When she was getting ready to start grad school about 1.5 years ago, which she was paying for, she apparently went out and got a tattoo of a butterfly on her shoulder that's about the size of my fist. I didn't know about it until about 6 months ago when she finally mentioned it. I absolutely hate it. I think it's ugly and gross. My daughter is moving back in with me and my mother to complete her internship that is required for her master's degree. I told her that when she's in this house, she has to wear clothing that covers the tattoo because I don't want to see it. She says that's not fair because it's very hot where we live and she likes to wear tank tops and stuff. I say it's my house, so it's my rules, and she is welcome to find another living arrangement if she doesn't like it. I know that she cannot find other arrangements because the internship is unpaid, so she has no option except living with me for free.
So you're a bad person.
Yeah.
My mother doesn't like tattoos either, but she hasn't said anything about this situation except to say she is staying out of it. I think I might be the asshole because she is an adult who can make her own choices, but I cannot stand the tattoo and am so disappointed that she made the choice to get one. So am I the asshole?
Am I the asshole for changing my baby's name despite promising my dead husband's family I'd name the child after him? I lost my husband due to COVID when I was about 3 months pregnant. After he died, my mother-in-law thought it would be a great idea to name the baby after him if he was a boy. I agreed because I was overwhelmed with emotion. She said it would be like he's still there in a way. When my son got here, even though I still wanted to honor him, I'm not so sure I wanted to name the baby after my husband. I feel like that's just sticking to the past and that my baby should be his own person, so I give him a different name on his birth certificate. When I made the announcement on Facebook that baby Lucas had arrived, I started getting confused comments from my mother-in-law. She called me a few hours later asking why I'd broken the promise. I told her my reasoning and that I just wanted to move on in a healthy way. That I felt like calling my husband's name when referring to my son would hurt me and make the process harder. She didn't yell at me, but she did say how disrespectful it was to my husband to not include him in my son's life in some way. She also brought up the fact that I didn't tell her or his extended family that I was changing my mind. I told her personally that I felt like I didn't need to, as she was just my mother-in-law, not my husband. She raised her voice and said she'd been waiting all this time to meet her grandson and now she doesn't even want to see him. I said that was fine and hung up. I do feel bad.
Am I wrong for taking my friend to court after she kicked me out of the bridal party for cutting my hair? For my friend's 3-day wedding, I had to buy 3 different dresses, including alterations and specific shoes, which totaled over $700. She also wanted specific hairstyles for each day. Unfortunately, starting in March, my hair started to deteriorate. Due to health reasons, my hair was falling out in chunks, and in May, I made the difficult decision to cut my hair. I told the bride about my decision 2 weeks before the wedding, and she didn't say anything bad. The following week, she came over to my house, and when she was about to leave, she brought up that she was concerned about my haircut, and I told her it would look good even though I wouldn't be in uniform with the other bridesmaids. The following day, I received this message. After our recent conversations, I like to remind you of my boundaries. I've been very accommodating and graceful, but I cannot allow you to disrespect me. As you know, my wedding has been something I've dreamt of for many years. My husband and I have invested a lot of money into the video and photos of this day, and as we reflect on this day in the future, we want to see our vision reflected in the memories. Since I asked each of you to be my bridesmaids in 2019, I've been very clearly and very communicative in my request. The timing of your decision to cut your hair and not come in advance is very upsetting to me. I would have felt respected if you had communicated with me more than a week prior to the wedding, so we could have worked together to find a collaborative solution. Your inconsistencies have concerned me, and while I sympathize with your health conditions, I'm not willing to compromise my vision to accommodate you, or anyone else, when you have informed me in advance and we could have found a better solution. Since this is something you can no longer fully commit to, I need you to please step down from participating in my wedding. This was 3 days before the wedding. I immediately sent her and her husband an invoice asking them to reimburse for the dresses and shoes, keeping in mind that one of the dresses is still in her possession even though I paid for it. I was told I was inconsistent and selfish after I spent the past 2 weeks helping her plan the wedding shower. I worked with another bridesmaid to surprise her with a bridal shower after our bachelorette trip had to be canceled. I spent hours helping her out with wedding details. When she asked me to help her tone up before the wedding, I sent her a personalized workout program and even went with her to the gym to show her the ropes. When I agreed to be her bridesmaid, I was more than willing to oblige with what she asked, even if at times it was a lot of time and money. So, am I wrong for taking her to court because she kicked me out for cutting my hair?
My father and I used to live with my grandparents when we were kids. My parents had me while they were teenagers, and my father was given full custody since he lived with my grandparents while my mother was living with various people and moving about every few weeks. My grandparents adored me because I was the daughter they never had. My grandfather died of cancer when I was 6 years old. This story takes place around 5 months after his death. I suppose it was a Saturday and my father was at work. My gram decided to take me to McDonald's for lunch, and I was ecstatic, as any 6-year-old would be. So we drove about 1.5 miles to the nearest McDonald's, ordered our lunch, and sat down at a table to eat. We were the only ones eating inside at the time. A scraggly looking man walks in about 10 minutes after we sit down, orders a dinner, and sits diagonally in front of us to the left at the table. Because we lived in a middle and upper middle class neighborhood, this person stood out. Graham had her back to him, but I got a clear view of him. This man was in his mid-50s with wiry, scraggy, dirty white hair and a beard. He was dressed in blue shorts and a soiled white t-shirt, as well as sandals. It's incredible that this happened 21 years ago, and I can recall it as if it were yesterday. So I observed something dark, pink, and wrinkly on this man's lap under the table, and he kept gazing at me and caressing it every few seconds. We learned about stranger danger and good touch, bad touch in kindergarten, as well as which parts of our bodies strangers were not allowed to touch. In my 6-year-old thinking, it dawned on me that this man wasn't meant to be out like that, doing what he was doing. But I was wrong. I became nauseous and nervous. I didn't want to tell my gram right away because I was afraid the man would harm us. If my father had been around, I would have said anything because my father was my idol and could take on anyone. Instead, I placed my Happy Meal box in front of my face, blocking my vision of the man. I had about half of my lunch left, but I was hungry. I simply nodded yes when Graham inquired whether I was full. I was, and still am, a small person, so I was used to not eating a meal. Before we left, she asked whether I wanted to go play in the play area, but I simply shook my head and said quietly, I want to go home. We left after Graham cleared our table. I was still frightened when we arrived home, and I felt like I was going to puke. What's wrong with the Munchkin? Graham inquired, her nickname for me, and I burst out crying, telling her about the man at McDonald's and what I had seen. My Graham didn't stress out or become emotional. Instead, she hugged me and said, it's all right, go play in your room and I'll take care of it. She brushed my tears away, handed me a blueberry Kool-Aid burst, and instructed Patches, my dog, to accompany me to my room, which she did. Graham contacted McDonald's and notified them about the person when I was out of earshot. He had not vanished. Graham was informed by the manager that he would take care of it and will call her back. Graham gets a call from the manager an hour later telling her that they had contacted the cops, who arrived in record time and arrested the guy. The man's knife was hanging out of his shorts when the cop urged him to get up. Graham was also told by the manager that she could bring me back for a month's worth of free Happy Meal coupons. Later, we found out that this man was a serial killer and children were usually his victims. It was good to arrest him right away, not letting him outside the neighborhood. I was lucky to have my Graham to protect me. If I were alone, who knows what could have happened?
The asshole for not lying about my sister's whereabouts. My sister Jessie is married to a man named Kevin. I have no idea what's going on in their marriage, but Jessie once used me to lie to her husband that she was over at my place when she wasn't. I hated lying to him, and I told Jessie to never put me in that position again. A while ago, Kevin called me late at night asking if Jessie was over at my place because she claimed we were having a girls' night out. I didn't know what to say, and when he heard Seinfeld playing in the background, he got suspicious. So fed up, I bluntly told him Jessie wasn't with me and I hadn't seen her all day. Jessie and Kevin are getting divorced now, but my sister refuses to tell anybody why. Blames me and still isn't talking to me. And Jessie claims that she had a good reason for what she did and I ruined her marriage. Am I the asshole?
I was at work the other day. I wait tables. And of course, because of COVID, I'm wearing a mask. So I walk up to my next table and greet them and begin telling them the specials. Honey, take that mask off so we can hear you better. Oh, sorry ma'am, I can't take it off, but I will talk a little bit louder for you. And she didn't say anything else until the end of the meal. I need to speak with your manager. But the service had been great, so I was really confused. But I got my manager anyways. What seems to be the problem here? Hi, All your employees are lazy and none of them want to work. What do you mean? Everything was filthy and we couldn't even hear what our waiter was saying. I didn't get in trouble, but if I ever see this lady again, it's going down. Earlier today, me and my friend went to the gym to work out, and I was his ride. So on the way home, we passed these two girls who were walking. And as we passed them, my friend rolled down the window and yelled, "Hey, I like how those melons jiggle. Why don't you give the boys a flash?" I instantly got angry and pulled over, and I told him he could walk the rest of the way home. He thought I was joking, but I told him I'm serious. He said that he had just been joking around, but I didn't think that that was funny, and he had to get out of my car. He lived pretty far from where we were, but I couldn't have him riding in my car after that. And eventually he got out and walked. What do you guys think? Was this the right thing to do, or am I the a-hole here?